What's up, everybody? It's Parallax Abstraction, and this is Retro Flashforward, showcasing gaming's roots in the current generation. So, we're taking a look at our second ever mobile game on this show, and it's kind of weird because it's actually a game from the same developer. Yes, indeed, this is Pac-Man 256. So, a little while ago, I took a look at Crossy Road, which is a game that everyone, their dog, and the dog's fleas now knows about. It got insanely popular, and it made a whole bunch of money. And it was kind of like an infinite runner, endless level take on Frogger. And this is kind of that idea in a similar way applied to Pac-Man. It's kind of a hybrid of the old staples of Pac-Man mixed with that endless runner kind of thing. So it's interesting. We're going to start it off here. So this is another game that seems to be taking the world by storm. I'm hearing everybody talking about it. And it's pretty cool. I've played it for a couple of hours now. It's got some neat ideas, but unfortunately it has some problems, much like Crossy Road related to its free-to-playness, sadly. But we'll get into that stuff. So what's the idea with this thing? Well, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, I've never done a video on Pac-Man. I probably should done someday just so I can check the box. But it's kind of a ubiquitous retro staple. I mean, even if you're not a big retro game fan, you have heard of Pac-Man and you know what it's about. You eat pellets, you try to eat ghosts at one point, avoid them at another point, and you're doing it in the interest of getting as much score as possible. And at its core, that's what this game is as well, but there's definitely more to it than that. You're kind of seeing some of that here. And it's interesting what they've done. So this is for starters, there are no levels in this. It's one big, long, ever-generating level. There's no boards like there was in Pac-Man. And in this particular game, you are trying to eat pellets and avoid ghosts as well, but you may have seen things here that I have things like lasers and the ability to freeze them and all this other kind of crazy stuff. So there's a twist on things right there as well. And in addition to that, you're going to see here, if I go back down, that craziness, yes, which I think is really cool. So in addition to avoiding the ghosts, you're also trying to avoid what they call the glitch, which basically looks like a malfunctioning, the result of a malfunctioning arcade board that is ever creeping up on you at an ever faster pace. You want to stay ahead of that as long as possible while trying to score as many points as possible. And of course you've got leaderboards and that whole jazz right there. Sorry if this is seeming a little bit stuttery. This game, I'm playing this on a Nexus 5 Android device, and this game actually runs smooth as butter on there, but when I'm capturing it gets very stuttery for reasons I'm not exactly sure of here. So yeah, your goal is to get as much stuff as you can. Much like in the original Pac-Man, each of the different colored ghosts has their own personality, and there's actually additional ones here, like the gray guy. The gray ghost is a guy who actually sleeps and doesn't come after you until you get near him. So things like that. So you go until either you get hit by the glitch or one of the ghosts and you're dead. So you see what happened there, pretty obvious. So you can continue if you want. You can only continue once. And well, we'll get to the free-to-play stuff later, because credits do come into that. So what else is there here? Well, so as you go, you can pick up the different types of fruit, just like you could in the original Pac-Man. Now, the fruit were just one-time score bonuses in the original Pac-Man. In this one, what they do is they give you a temporary score multiplier. So you can see there, because I picked up the apple, it says I now have a score multiplier, or I had a score multiplier of ×3. I picked the peach up, and it's ×5 now, so you kind of get the idea here. There's another type of ghost there. There are actually things called glitch ghosts as well, which are ghosts that basically have completely random behavior. The other ones can be predicted. The glitch one, not so much. So as you go along, so the power-ups are things that you actually buy. There's different ones, and you can equip up to 3 of them at a time. But you don't, hey, I bested my high score while recording, no less. Good for me. So the thing with the power-ups is that you don't, is that you don't actually use them on demand. So I got something there. I unlocked the tornado. So I'll show you how the power-ups work here. So you can you earn the power-ups, you level them up, and then they appear in places on the map, and when you run over them they activate. So the 3 I have right now from right to left there are the laser, the ice cube, which freezes the ghost in place, and the bomb. When you get a bomb, Pac-Man turns red, and the bomb will either last for a certain amount of time or till he runs into a ghost, in which case it explodes and takes out any ghosts that are nearby. So you see there's different types of power-ups here. So there's Giant, which I haven't used yet, and this is the one I just unlocked, which is Tornado. All of these power-ups have levels to them. And while you see in the upper right there that little coin thing, you may recognize that from Crossy Road. Yep, it is the in-game currency. So you earn coins either by running over them in the map, you can earn them by watching videos, in the game over screen, which are usually ads for other games. You can earn bonuses at other objectives as well, and you use those to buy upgrades. But as you can see, when you buy an upgrade, you don't get it right away. Of course not. This is a mobile game. What did you expect? So you not only have to wait for the upgrade to apply, you can't use the power-up at all while it's upgrading, which blows. I am not a fan of that. Not at all. So that's a bit of a bummer. In addition to that, you're going to see here that, you see where it said, when I continued before, you might have noticed where it said it cost 1 credit. And it also cost me 1 credit to start. This is going to go south real quick. Oh dear. So yes, this game has credits. You may see them there in the bottom right. 2 of 6 with a timer above them. So this game basically has the mobile energy meter mechanic, which means that you can only play it so many times in a row before you run out of credits. You have to, if you want to play the game without power-ups, you can just go free play. If you want to have your power-ups, you have to use a credit. And if you use a credit, I mean, that's the way you are going to want to do it, because if you don't use, I'm going to try to, how do I, there we go. Since I can't use the other one, I'm going to equip the Giant one. Yes, so if you play without power-ups, the gameplay is still fine, but you won't have a prayer of getting a high score, honestly. The power-ups become absolutely necessary at a certain degree. And yeah, that's one of the ways this game is kind of a pain. It's basically limiting how often you can play it in a realistic way. So, of course, like most other free-to-play games, you can buy a power-up that will increase the amount of coins you get. I'm not sure if it's permanent or temporary. It's probably permanent. I think that's $5 or something like that. Or you can buy a permanent power-up that gives you unlimited credits for $8. Now, I'm one of the people who have been out there saying that it drives me nuts that people are not willing to pay for quality mobile games, and as a result we get a bunch of free-to-play garbage. You may think that having, paying $8 to get unlimited credits is a good thing, because you can be like, well, I just pay that, I'm supporting the developer, and I can play it as much as I want after that point. Yeah, you're not wrong. But I don't like games that hold themselves to ransom in that regard. I really don't like the idea of, well, if you just want to keep playing this game where you're already having to deal with all the power-up mechanics and everything else, you have to pay us a bunch of money. And yeah, you get unlimited credits for your $8. You still have to sit and wait for power-ups to level and all that other crap. Like, it doesn't take away all the annoying aspects of it. It just gives you the unlimited credits. So that's going to be up to you. Clearly, a lot of people don't mind that because Crossy Road has made like $1 hajillion, and that worked on a very, very similar principle, though that was a little bit more... Okay, Giant's kind of cool. Because you can just... Oh god, you just turn ghosts into freaking red mist. I like that. So now I'm a bomb, so check this out. Bomb is kind of neat. I like that one. So... yeah, it's going to be subjective. It's going to be up to you. I personally don't like that method, but it might be okay. So, just fair warning on that. The one thing I haven't talked about as well, I did talk about the fruit, but there is another score multiplier mechanic as well, which is eating dots in rapid succession. So you may be wondering, what the Pac-Man 256 thing is. Well, you see there as I run over the dots in succession, a little number is incrementing below them. So that's what that is. So Basically what happens is in every increment of 16 dots in a row, you get that many points. So for example, if you run over 16 dots in a row, you're immediately awarded 16 points. 32, you get 32. All the way up to 256. When you hit 256, which I have never done yet, it kills all the ghosts in the vicinity, giving you a big, big bonus, and then it resets back to 1. Aha, screw you guys. So that's how that works. So you want to try to get as many dots in a row as you can. If you miss a dot even once, either by going backwards like I did there, or there are elements in the board where there are dots not present, things like that, then the multiplier resets. So getting it up to 256 is not necessarily as easy as it might sound. It's actually kind of tricky. And as you can see here, I'm now out of credits. So if I wait 35 seconds, I will get 1 more credit. Yeah, kind of lame, isn't it? I agree wholeheartedly. I don't like that, and I don't like the idea of having to pay $8. If I could pay $8 and not have to wait for weapon upgrades, even if I still had to earn the coins, I'd probably be okay with that. But if I have to pay $8 to get the credits and still wait for these power-ups, I don't know. I have a problem with that. So we're just going to switch over to free play here in the meantime. So, yeah. So the free-to-playness bugs me, kind of, but the core idea of this is really cool. I mean, the problem with Pac-Man is, as great a game as it is, as an indisputable classic as it is, the problem with it is, what do you do with it to make it new and different in a modern era, right? That's the tricky part, because in terms of modern video games, Pac-Man in its purest form just doesn't hold up. Bandai Namco has tried Dang it. Bandai Namco has tried all manner of crazy crap with it over the years. So you see here at the top as well, to unlock the next available power-up to purchase, you also have to eat a certain number of dots. So it's kind of like a Call of Duty level progression, if you will, something like that. So that's the other way that goes. That I don't mind in particular, because most traditional video games work in a similar fashion as well. So yeah, the problem with Pac-Man is, what do you do to freshen it up? Bandai Namco over the years has tried all kinds of different things, which has really just involved slapping the Pac-Man name on a bunch of ridiculous things. Like, they've done adventure game, they've tried to do adventure games, they've tried to put them in racing games, they've tried to do all these other things. They're really just, and of course there have been 17,010 different Namco museum collections that have Pac-Man and its different variants in there. You can put tiny little spins on some of the core basic mechanics of Pac-Man. That's why, you know, we have Pac-Man Plus and stuff like that. That's all really good. But it just isn't enough to make a modern day game, at least not one you could charge a lot of money for. And that's a tough position to be in. This is something different. It's unmistakably Pac-Man. Like, you look at this little bugger. This game is unmistakably Pac-Man. I mean, you look at this and you know what it is immediately. You know pretty much immediately what you have to do, even if this doesn't play like traditional Pac-Man in a recognizable way. But it's very different, and it has its own mechanics. Like, when you think about it, for a mobile game, the systems in this are pretty deep. You know, you've got a whole variety of different power-ups. You've got level progression and power-up progression for those power-ups. You've got this idea of the endless maze. You've got the idea of the glitch, which is something that has not existed in any Pac-Man game before, but most people instantly recognize, because the idea of like a wonky arcade board, if you grew up in arcades, you probably saw that at some point in your life. Malfunctioning arcade machines were not all that uncommon, especially if it was in an arcade that was not as well maintained as it could have been. And the ghosts all have personalities, just like one of the things that was really innovative about the original Pac-Man was that all the ghosts actually did have very, very primitive AI to them. You know, it was very easily gamed, but you knew that certain ghosts had certain methods of behavior, and that's very much the case here as well, and they actually added some more. That's all very cool. So the concept is really neat. The idea of an endless Pac maze, it makes sense. It's a concept that works very well to this, and while you can certainly see the Crossy Roadness in this game, I'm on fire now. The fact that this is stuttery isn't helping either. For whatever reason, my phone gets super, super hot when I'm capturing out of it, and I think it's actually, that's what's slowing it down, because I think my phone is kind of going, oh god, I shouldn't be running this hot. So I think that's why it's a little stuttery. But yeah, like the systems between the power-ups and, yeah, the endless level and the ways in which you can game the AI and the way in which you can sort of juke your multiplier and stuff, that's all really cool and pretty innovative and pretty deep. Not necessarily the kind of thing you would expect out of a mobile game. And there's definitely a lot of similarities to Crossy Road in this. I mean, the coin system is exactly the same. I mean, heck, it makes the same bloody sound when you pick up the coins. Like that. And Namco has been very heavily pushing this as from the makers of Crossy Road. They want people to know that it's those same people. And this shares a lot of the same similarities for very obvious reasons. They're trying to play off the success of that game. But I think Hipster Whale's onto something neat here. I got bored with Crossy Road after a while and just kind of went, I'm done with this now. But this game, I could see keeping on my phone for a while longer because it's got... the score attack in it is deeper. In Crossy Road, really, your score was just how far you could get, and that was it. There was nothing really more to it. It was just try to get better at hopping across the randomly generated traffic. This game has multipliers, it has the ghosts you can go after, you can play it, you know, with that sort of arcade greed instinct. If you're an old school arcade player, you're going to know what I'm talking about here. The old school arcade greed instinct, it has that in here. There's a bunch of different ways to play it. You can play it conservatively, you can play it aggressively, you can focus on multipliers, you can focus on trying to get as many ghosts as possible, you can focus on... yeah, on just trying to get as much fruit as you can, or, you know, just barreling on ahead and trying to get the multipliers from the extra that you get from the pellets and things like that. I always forget how fast that pink bugger is. So there's a lot of different ways you can play it to achieve the high score. This is much more of a pure arcade score attack game than something like Crossy Road was. It's sort of an evolution of that formula. And it's not just, hey, we slap Pac-Man and the Waka Waka sound in an otherwise unrelated crappy mobile game. No, they kept all the core mechanics and tenets and spirit of Pac-Man. If you're playing this game, you know it's Pac-Man, and you can look at it and within 5 seconds know that this is a proper Pac-Man game. It checks all the boxes, and they're not there just so they can be familiar. They are intricate, they are integral to the systems, they are worked in a meaningful way that makes sense, and it's really well put together. I really have to give credit to Hipster Whale, and there was another developer on this called 3 Sprockets, who I've never heard of before, but their name is on this as well, so I don't know how the sort of split worked in terms of these two teams. But it's really cool, and I really like the concept of the game. Unfortunately, I don't like a lot of free-to-play mobile games because of how in-your-face they get, trying to get you to spend money, and how stuff is gated back for no good reason in order to make them money, and that's definitely what happened here. Gating the power-ups behind timers and the credit mechanic, which the credit mechanic wouldn't even be so bad if you got something like 15 credits or something instead of a maximum of 6. Like 6 is just not enough. Like you can run out 6 credits playing this game for 10 minutes if you have a run of bad luck at it. Which can happen because they're randomly generated levels and ghost placement, right? So you can just play this for 10 minutes sometime. It's kind of like pinball. Just have a real crap run of it, and then you're kind of screwed. I don't like any of that. I don't like those mechanics. I understand that, unfortunately, people don't want to pay for quality mobile games these days. People don't want to pay money up front. You know, they'll pay hundreds of dollars a year for a phone, but they won't pay $3 up front for a really high-quality game that doesn't have any scummy mechanics in it. Unfortunately, that's what the market wants, and this game was probably designed around that. It's a bummer, but it's not horrible. This is not like Game of War or some of those other titles that are just I dare would use the word abusive to describe those games and their free-to-play mechanics. This is not nearly that overt. You don't have to spend a cent on this if you have more time than money. If you'd rather wait for your credits to refill and wait for the power-ups and everything else, that's fine. You don't have to spend money. And I think $8 is not necessarily a lot of money, but you can get some really good full games on Steam for $8, whereas all you get in this is the ability to not have it gate how much you can play it, as opposed to... There's not a lot of necessarily real value in that. It's just about allowing you to play it as much as you want, as opposed to really giving you something new and interesting. It just takes away one limitation in a game that has many. So I'm not a fan of that. Will I put any money into this game? Probably not. I don't see myself getting so into it that I'll want to put that amount of time into it. But if I got some time to kill, you know, the ideal time to play a mobile game, I'll probably fire it up for a few minutes, do a few runs, see how high I can get with just what I've got in it, and be like, yeah, all right, that was fun, and put it down and not think about it until I need it again. You know, something like that, and that's fine. Maybe this game is good enough for that. But I have a feeling, given how much it's super popular already, that I'm sure it's going to make a ton of money. But if you have to do the scummy free-to-play thing, this is not the worst way you could do it, and yeah, it's not too bad. And the core game underneath is just so good and so deep that you should definitely pick it up and try it for yourself either way. I mean, it's free, you got nothing to lose, and yeah, when I first started this up, I was like, oh, it's just Crossy Road but Pac-Man. No, it's much more than that. And Hipster Whale has actually done something new and different with a very good but very well-worn formula, and that's admirable, because frankly, that's more than Namco themselves have been able to do over the years, so that's probably pretty commendable. So yeah, that is Pac-Man 256, developed by Hipster Whale and 3 Sprockets. I am playing the Android version on a Google Nexus 5, but this is available on iOS if you're one of those crazy people. I don't know what phones this runs on, but it doesn't feel like a super high-end game, so it'll probably run on a lot of things. The Nexus 5 is not a slouch, but it's far and away not the most state-of-the-art Android phone either. And it actually runs fine. It runs at a buttery smooth 60 frames a second. I know it's been stuttering here. That's because of my recording setup, so don't blame the game for that. But yeah, it's free to play, so you got nothing to lose by giving it a shot, and it's cool. They did something neat with Pac-Man, and you know, free-to-play scumminess aside, I will give credit where credit's due. Pac-Man needed something new and different done, and Hipster Whale figured it out, so good on him. My name's Parallax Abstraction. Thank you all very much for watching. If you liked what you saw here, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It does help me out a great deal. And, well, I will see you guys next time. Take it easy, everybody.